It's a dangerous one. Donald Trump told us to our faces a couple of nights ago, the goal is regime change. But the United States is very, very bad. We were in Afghanistan for 20 years. We were in Iraq for 19 years. It's very difficult. The global impacts I think we're seeing today. At the opening bell this morning, the Dow Jones Industrial Averages dropped 1,100 points. The NASDAQ is off 2.3%. It's just a wipeout. And the S&P 500 is down 1.8%. Gold surged and then dropped. Apparently people are taking profits, but and even Bitcoin surged because people are looking for some place to put their money that doesn't have anything to do with stocks. The value of the dollar has dropped precipitously. It's down 15% in the past year. It's down another 3% today. So this is going to be tough on us economically. The news that you've seen that Saudi Arabia said that they would help us in regime change operations is true. You know, it's funny, over the last couple of years, Mohammed bin Salman Al Saud, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, actually worked very hard to improve Saudi relations with Iran. But as it turns out, it was Mohammed bin Salman and Benjamin Netanyahu who went to Donald Trump and asked him to invade Iran or to attack Iran. So I'm not sure what kind of game MBS is playing. It's a dangerous one. The goal is indeed regime change. Donald Trump told us to our faces a couple of nights ago, the goal is regime change. But the United States is very, very bad at regime change operations. I've long said it's easy to invade a country. It's easy to overthrow a government. It is very, very difficult to get out. We were in Afghanistan for 20 years. We were in Iraq for 19 years. It's very difficult. You know, and this reminds me, I've told this story before, but this reminds me very much of a principals committee meeting in which I was the note taker the night before we attacked Iraq in 2003. The meeting was chaired by Vice President Cheney. The president was busy, so Cheney chaired it. It included Condoleezza Rice, who was the National Security Advisor, Colin Powell, who was the Secretary of State, General Hoare, I forget his first name, H-O-A-R. Was it Hoare or Tommy Franks? Maybe it was Tommy Franks, who was the head of Central Command. It was a couple of the top guys on the National Security Council and George Tenet, the director of the CIA. I was George's note taker in the meeting. And as we were getting up to leave at the end of the meeting, one of these bozos from the NSC said, kind of loudly, when we cross that border tomorrow, they're going to throw flowers at us. And I went back to the office and the deputy director of the CIA said to me, how was the meeting? And first I said, did you know we were going to invade Iran? And he said, are they still talking about that? We're not going to invade Iran. That's what they had said during the meeting. We're going to invade Iran. Now here we are 24 years later and we're invading Iran. But I told him about the crack that the guy made, that they're going to throw flowers at us. And I said, do these people know nothing about history? And he said, no, they know nothing about history. Well, again, it's 24 years later, and the conventional wisdom has always been that we're going to be greeted as liberators, and we're not. We're greeted as attackers and occupiers. And Iranians, for the most part, will fight to the death to save their country from us and from the Israelis. So nothing good is going to come of this. Now, about sleeper cells. Yes, the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, and the MOIS, the Ministry of Intelligence and Security, have sleeper cells all over the world. I doubt that they have any in the United States or Canada or the UK. They absolutely have them in places like Pakistan, Afghanistan, Thailand, Indonesia, Argentina even. Probably not here. But just as dangerous are these lone wolf attackers. Just a couple of nights ago, a mentally ill immigrant from Senegal who was wearing a hoodie that said property of Allah and then underneath the hood, he had wrapped himself in the Iranian flag, just opened fire on a group of bar patrons in Austin, Texas, and killed 4 people and wounded 7 before he himself was shot and killed. So we always need to worry about lone wolf attackers. The Italians to try to find Aldo Moro's kidnappers and killers, and they did. Of course, it was the Red Brigades. The Red Brigades broke up later in the 1980s. Gladio in general, all of that happened. And I'll answer your last question right now before I get into the explanation. The Italian intelligence agencies are very, very good, and the CIA works very closely with them, except when they don't. And that's what I want to tell you about. So I was still at the CIA, so it was like 2002 or 2003. There was an Egyptian Muslim imam by the name of Abu Omar. He was preaching in Milan, and we decided this guy's dangerous. He's preaching jihad. He's with Al-Qaeda. We're going to grab him. So we went to the Italians and we said, we want to grab this guy and we want to send him to one of our secret sites. And the Italians said, well, wait a minute. Let's investigate first and then we can have a conversation. So they investigated and they said, he's kind of a firebrand, but he's not in any way associated with Al-Qaeda. He just doesn't like Americans. And yeah, he's a fundamentalist Muslim, but that doesn't violate any laws. So they said, no, you can't grab him. We're not going to work with you to grab him. So what the U.S. did was we just grabbed him anyway. We went out to get him once and we didn't because we had a van full of special operations guys. He would walk from his apartment to his mosque every day at the same time, which was a really stupid thing to do. And we set out to grab him this one day, but there just so happened to be a woman walking her dog and she would have been a witness. So we just let him go. Did it again the next day, and sure enough, like an idiot, he just walked straight from his apartment to his mosque. Our guys burst out of the side door of the van. They grab him. They take him to an American air base, in a box, and put him on a plane and send him to a secret prison. No, we didn't send him to a secret prison. We sent him to Egypt. The Egyptians tortured him mercilessly. And they came back to us and they said, this guy doesn't know anything. He's just the wrong guy. Yeah, he's an imam. He's a fundamentalist, but he's not Al-Qaeda, and he doesn't have any information at all on terrorism. And they released him, and he went back to Italy. And the Italians are like, what the fuck did you guys do? Did we not say, leave this guy alone? And so what the Italians did, and this was really ballsy, I have real respect for them. They began investigating the CIA, and they were able to identify 21 undercover CIA officers, and not just undercover, but undercover and operating in alias. So if I go out there and my name is Joe Blow, how are they going to know that my real name is John Kiriakou? I'll tell you how. Because my CIA colleagues were morons. They're in alias, and what do? They call their wives at home from the hotel telephone. How about that? How stupid could that possibly? Or another one of them went out to buy souvenirs and used his credit card in his true name. In his true name. He's in alias. He has alias credit cards on him. You're not supposed to have your true name credit cards on you. And so every one of the 21 were identified. 2 were actually arrested. The base chief in Milan and a woman who she was a CIA officer, but she had dual nationality with Portugal, and she just decided to stay in Italy and hang out. They both got arrested. The base chief was expelled. He was not welcomed home as a hero because he was an idiot, and he ended up taking an early retirement from the CIA, and he went to Panama and retired there. The woman did a good 6 months, I think is what it was, in an Italian jail. They finally released her. She resigned from the CIA and moved to Portugal. So, sometimes people just do stupid things. Al-Qaeda controls the border of Oman and Yemen, and you're not going to be able to get anywhere near that oil, not within 50 miles of it. So they wanted to know if they approached the Omanis and offered for the Omani military to force Al-Qaeda out, would the Omanis do it? Or should they just walk away from this oil? So I went to Oman. I talked to the Minister of Oil and the Deputy Minister of Oil. I talked to the Deputy Intelligence Service Director. And I kind of knew all these guys. Like, we had met. We weren't like buddies or anything, but we had met. So when I asked for the appointment through the Omani embassy, they said, yes, come and, we'll have a conversation. So I went back to the company and I said, they're going to gouge you, but they'll push Al-Qaeda out of your oil field. And so they were able to drill for the oil. That's what private intelligence is.
So when you tell stories in that context, it makes it seem like you're like a high-speed private investigator.
That's really what it comes down to. Yes.
Are you familiar with Black Cube?
No, nope, don't know that one.
They're a private intelligence firm that is staffed by, they're an Israeli private intelligence firm that is all
the best ones.
And they, I think David Boies is the head attorney on the Epstein.
Oh, sure.
Allegedly, David Boies used on someone.
See, and the Israelis have no compunction at all about violating any law that gets in their way. And then they say, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, we'll get there in a second because I want to ask you. So you mentioned private intelligence. You're not using classified information to do it, is what you said.
Right.
But what about when the agency works with private intelligence firms? Because I read Leon Panetta's book, who was CIA director in the Obama administration as well as Secretary of Defense. Right. But he starts talking about, he's like, one of the first things I did was shut down this program that was, I forget how he described it, either controversial or unnecessary or something like that, but he gave no detail. And I was like, what the hell is he talking about? So I look it up, and it was a Blackwater assassination program to go after targets globally. And long story short, he ended up outing Eric Prince to the House Intelligence Committee by name.
Yes.
Eric Prince was operating, I guess, as a knock or had a 201 file.
That's why Eric Prince lives in Dubai now and not in the United States.
So I guess my question to you then is, like, I had no idea. And also Blackwater was involved in stealing secrets. Like, they had a network of spies. When you think about Blackwater, you think about boots on the ground, military contracts. People know that they ran the GRS program for CIA, but like, how would the CIA work with a contractor like that?
The first thing you do is the contractor appoints all former CIA people to its board of directors. And then you make the former head of the Counterterrorism Center, Cofer Black, your vice president. And then you hire all of Cofer's buddies to be the head of your different divisions. So is it CIA? Not really. It's quasi-CIA. Everybody's from the CIA. Everybody's getting rich, right? Because remember, post 9/11, money was literally not an issue. I told you in our last conversation that, 4, 5, 6 days after 9/11, I went up to Cofer Black, again, the head of the CIA's Counterterrorism Center, and I said, Cofer, I have an idea for an operation I want to pass by you. And he put up his hands and he says, whatever it is, just do it. I have so much money, I can't possibly spend it all. And so I did it. So, when Eric Prince goes to the CIA and says, yeah, I'll do all these things for you. We've got assassination squads, we've got interceptors, we've got boots on the ground. We'll do anything you want. I want $1.5 billion. And then the CIA wires it the next day. Then you can do whatever you want. But the thing is how do you control people who don't actually work for you? You can't, and you risk them going rogue, which of course they do because it's their nature. If you're being contracted to run an assassination program, you're going to go out there and assassinate people. Well, everybody's human and you make mistakes and you convince yourself that, Ahmed Shmahmed is a really bad guy. And actually, it's a cousin with a similar name, but you just put a bullet in this guy's head. Okay. Yeah, you write a check for $100,000 to his widow and just move on. And that's not cool. It's a crime. You can't just go around murdering people because you think they might be a bad guy. And so Panetta, I never really liked Panetta just because he's not a nice guy. But Panetta was right to shut that down.